Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. This is a family edition of the Lumberjack Landlord. This is Eliana, and this is
Finny.
that is Brinny. So we are super excited to be with you guys today. Lots of fun we're going to have, but these guys will be with us just for the very beginning. There is a car there. But wanted to talk about today's topic, which is, hey, we got people that are trying to watch the show. But this is an exciting topic for us, basically retirement. And so, basically freedom, and retiring early. But what's really exciting is that, for me, I'm an older dad. So I'm in my late 40s. Hey, are you guys ready to go upstairs and see Mom yet?
No.
I think she has lollipops for you. You guys want to go upstairs and get a lollipop?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Say bye to my co-hosts.
Bye.
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 Bye. All right, go upstairs and get some candy from Mom. Love you. Bye. Bye. Oh, good stuff. So those are the kids, but they were the ones that that's the why, guys. That's the why. So I'm a late 40s. I've got 4 kids under 6 years old. And it was a decision that I'd made in my career to not want to work for somebody for my entire life. The adage is true. You make other people rich when you work for them. And in many cases, it's not rich in money. It's rich in their freedom and their time. It's tough when you own a business to take a vacation. It's tough when you own your spot in a company to take vacations. It was something that I was horrible at. For years and years and years, I just didn't get it. In my 20s and in my 30s, I thought that they would think more of me by giving them all my vacation time back. And so year after year would pass, and I would get 3 weeks of vacation and I'd give, 2 weeks and 3 days back. And the 2 days that I took were so I could recover from having been sick or something crazy. And just so I could literally just sleep for a day. But when we talk about retiring early, I was blessed enough to be in a position where I was working with, Zub and Dion, where they had retired, and they had retired Zub in his case years before I had. Although he did it in a blaze of glory, still kind of feels sometimes like that should have been the way I went out. And then Dion, who it was kind of not even something that was on his radar, his real radar, like it was in the periphery. And so for him, it was just kind of like he reached a point, saw that was a good line of demarcation and said, yeah, you know what? It's probably time. I'm going to do that in true Dion fashion. And so that was really fun to watch and pissed to be a part of, because I thought for sure I was going to beat him. And thank God I, was able to beat Millennial Mike. But he's in his 30s, but he'll be retired. I don't think he'll be retired in 2 or 3 years, not unless Gary appreciates 400%. But I think the exciting thing is that, a lot of people that are here, on Sundays and learning some of the tips and tricks of the trade and things that I've done or things that Dion's done or things that Zub's done, things that Millennial Mike's done. The investment that you're making in yourselves is the most important investment you're going to make. There's no shortcut there. You might get lucky and you might invent something. You might hit a lottery ticket, whether it's an actual lottery ticket or something in life. But I think the challenging thing is that it's far less sexy than that. It's far more predictable than that. It really comes down to making it and purposing that you're going to do the things that you need to do in order to retire early. I see so many people in their 50s, that didn't make those decisions over the last 30 years. And they're finally making the decision now. And the best part is that it's not going to take them 20 or 30 years. They can really focus over the next 10 and actually retire. And they'll still retire early. And more importantly, they'll still retire with more means, something that's more predictable. Who knows if Social Security is going to be in place Quite frankly, from my perspective, I looked at it as a tax. It's probably going to be a tax. Will it still be solvent by the time I'm 65? I doubt it. Will they have figured something out by then? Maybe. Who knows? But I can tell you this, I didn't get to the position that I am today, depending on others, to get me where I wanted to go. So I think it's incumbent upon a lot of us that when we make that decision, we then start researching all that we can about that, getting as good at something, getting as good at something like house investing or whatever it is, but getting that good, investing in yourself in that way. So then you can actually get to the other side and you actually have the cash and means to be able to do that. I'd heard of the concept of lean fire. That wasn't for me. I heard of the concept of fire. That wasn't for me. I wanted fat fire. I wanted bonfire. I wanted to not have to say no to anything. If I want to take a vacation and it's, Dion level vacation and it's $15,000, then okay, no big deal. If I wanted to go out and get a big expensive car with a massive car payment and break that piece in me that the frugal meter, then okay, I could do that because I've had them in the past. I've had $1,300 car payments in the past. And then I realized I was shortchanging myself and I could turbocharge my journey if I stopped spending on all the frivolous stuff and I started only focusing on how do I make this money make me more money. And so I think once you kind of purpose that and then you start investing in yourself and you really start going down that path, that's really the first step. Recognizing that you want to do it, but taking action. Hope is not a plan. It's a feeling. And so you can get more and more hope and build that muscle by taking action and pursuing your path. But then when you start kind of going through it, you start to see all the steps to it. And there's a lot to it. A lot of people think real estate investing is easy, and it's because they haven't done it. And then you realize that the first 5 years that they really suck, that you get the, insurance denial claims, that you get the, landlord tenant issues, and somebody didn't pay for 3 months and you end up on the hook. And at the end of the year, if it was a single family home, yeah, you probably lost money. And so you have to battle through all that stuff. And the last time to do that is when you're already retired. The time to do that is when you still have kind of that safety net of a job. And that's what I did. I kind of, walked the line between the two. And every dime that I made in my investment property company, every dime that I made went back into it. That's what propelled and created our growth. Then you saw the speed of our growth in 2020 and 21 and 22. That speed was able to be there because of the amount of time that I had been in the markets, much like Dion, much like Zub, much like Mike. All of that equity that you're trading over and over and over again in Dion, he's not recycling capital, but he's creating more and more cash from his cash flow and then just living a frugal, responsible life. And so it's true that you can do it in 10 years. Sometimes you can do it in 5 years. Sometimes it takes 15 because just of the market dynamic. That's just the way that it goes. If you started around the Great Recession, you started with not a whole lot of money like I did. Guess what? That makes it kind of difficult to buy the next thing. Seller financing really wasn't a thing then. Now it kind of is a thing. But there's all these thousands of different ways that you can do this. And you have to find the message or the means by which it makes the most sense to you. Maybe it's me and house hacking and buying value add properties and learning how to fix things and learning how to hire the right person to do the right job. Maybe it's Zub's way where he understood exactly what it took to buy a deal. And then he had a team in place and went through 5 or 6 really bad property managers and finally found a good one and then could really start to grow with them. Maybe it's Millennial Mike where the idea is remote investing because nothing around you makes sense. And you start doing that and you start buying really inexpensive properties. And that's not a slam. That's factual. There are inexpensive properties, but they still take that work to get them on path. But what does it take? It takes that team. And it takes, even Mike is going to go to Gary, Indiana 3 or 4 times this year. The fact that people think that they can do remote vesting and never go visit their properties, that's just horrible. That's a bad idea. That's bad idea genes. Like, we don't want to do that. You got to be getting into your market, not just reading spreadsheets. You got to get into your market, seeing the transformation of the place, seeing where you say, oh, you know what? I've been there. I've walked that property. I've walked that area. I wouldn't own there if you paid me. really understanding kind of all those pieces. But then you get to the fun side of it, right? Where it's now you're gaining momentum. Now you're building. Now you've done this for 5 years. Now you've seen the cash flow. You've gotten through all the whoopsies, all the oopsies, all the, hey, we had to replace the roof. We had to replace the heating system. We had to replace the hot water heater. You've gotten through that. And now this is an asset for you. Now it's going to start to create more cash. Your rents over the last 5 years have likely gone up significantly. Your mortgage, 30-year fixed rate debt, again, one of the core tenets of investing, that 30-year fixed rate debt or even seller financing. But again, inexpensive or even expensive, but 30-year fixed rate debt where you know you make your margins. We don't care about the price that we're buying it for. We don't care about the rate that we're getting. We only care about the combination of the two and the payment and the fact that the debt is 30 years and it's fixed rate. So what do you then have to look forward to? What you have to look forward to is you get to decide how big you get. It could be a duplex. It could be 3 duplexes. It could be a combination thereof. It could be my 4-3-2-1 strategy, 4 unit, 3 unit, 2 unit, 1 unit. I have somebody I'm working with right now that is getting out of the 4 that they bought about 2 years ago. They're going to be moving into their next investment property, and they've already been approved by the bank. And so now they're shopping for their next one because they got the other one normalized. They got everything set up. They got all the tenants paying on time. They got all the repairs done that they needed to. So now that property is largely kind of set it and forget it. And they can put themselves in a pretty good position to kind of move on from here. So the thing that really starts to eat at you after you've begun this journey is fast. How fast am I going? I need to go faster. I want to go faster. I want to go fast, mama. No, you really don't. The people that end up going out of business are the people that grow too fast. It's a cautionary tale. It's one that all of us investors, myself, Mike, Dion, Zub, Dion's not in any risk of growing too fast. He's too lazy in a loving way. Mike, Millennial Mike, he's growing super fast. That's great. The challenge becomes, even with great terms, is the amount of units that you can bring to market, the amount of time that it takes, and the draw on your cash that is. So that's one of the things that you have to be really careful of, because all of a sudden, if the market pukes all over itself, that's where I got stuck. I got stuck where I had 5 properties that I was improving all 5 of them. And then I started getting hit with stuff, and it was like, oh man, oh man, oh man. And then I was having to work a W-2 to pay off some of those oh mans as they came up through the process. Our journey wasn't perfect. It was just our journey. That's where I think I can teach you guys stuff, is that I saw what mistakes I made and I did it better. And now you have the elite operation that we have today, which, as I like to say, throws off enough cash flow to choke a donkey. And I don't really know where that saying came from. It came up one night when we were laughing about something. But I think at the end of the day, what we can all focus on is the fact that we want more for our lives. We want more for our futures. That's going to take us not being hopeful, but actually understanding, learning, investing in ourselves, investing in finding out the best way to do this, the way that fits your model the best, the way that fits your personality the best. There's a lot of strategies out there that don't fit my strategy or my mindset at all. I love Pace Morby. I love that he does sub 2 stuff. I love that stuff. I love it. I love watching him. He is truly elite at what he does. Sub 2 doesn't fit me at all. Just don't feel comfortable with it. There's a thing right here that makes me feel about it, because I think that the due on sale clause is going to become a thing for the banks in the next few years. I could be wrong. But if we listen to my buddy Corby Carter, what does he say? He says, Swan event, Swan, sleep well at night. I want to sleep well at night. Sub 2 doesn't do it for me. Would I want to hand everything over to a property manager like Zub does? It doesn't sit well with me, because I know that I'm going to do a better job with my money and with my asset than anybody else will. So yeah, I still want a level of control over that, at least where I'm putting eyes on it on the reg and seeing exactly what's going on in my properties. I was in my properties 13 or 14 times this week. One of them I was in 7 times because, yeah, you guessed it, The jail project is finally kicking off next week, and I couldn't be more excited. So I want to encourage you guys that, yeah, you make the investment in yourself. You do it now while you have the W-2. You understand that it's going to be difficult the first 5 years. That's not why everybody does it. You are probably growing as fast as you should. And even though I chide on Ramsey a lot, there's a lot of things that he says that are absolutely true. The thing that he says that's the most true, and I love this saying that he has, is live your wage. Instead of act your age, live your wage. Couldn't be more important. So what I'll tell you guys is the 3 things that were the most important to me to actually move the ball forward from my retirement. The 3 things that were the most important to me that I need to make sure were in place was, 1, I had to invest in myself. I had to make sure that I was consuming everything that I possibly could from people that had done what I wanted to do, and that they were honest and they did it successfully, that they weren't sitting there flexing cars. Because I got to be honest, I love watching Grant Cardone. I think he's hilarious. But that's not going to be for everybody. In fact, that's going to be, if you look at what some people say about the success of those students, it's probably for sub 5%. Don't know that to be the case. Again, just what other people say on the internet. So no fact behind that number. But just what I've heard on other channels. So the challenge is that after you've really understood that I need to invest in myself, what's that look like? And then understanding who that is that I'm going to listen to. Don't listen to just one person. Listen to multiple viewpoints. I think Dion has some great points. I think Zoob has some great points. I think Millennial Mike has some great points. We all learn from each other. But the most successful investor is going to be the one that probably takes something from each of us. In all honesty, that's going to be your best investor. It's one that invests in themselves with all the secrets that everybody learned and picking the thing that fits them the best. That's going to be a key point of concern and investment in yourself, is really understanding a bunch of different strategies and taking the best parts of each of them. I think that's going to be a big thing for everybody. The second thing is think F.I.R.E. If you go lean F.I.R.E, it's scary. I've looked at the numbers. I've talked to people that went lean F.I.R.E. It's scary, especially with a family, especially with a family, especially with kids. Lean F.I.R.E, that's a challenge. Not that you can't do it, but think fatter. So regular F.I.R.E, does that work? Yeah. I think it probably does, but a lot of those people in this F.I.R.E movement have no idea what a 2008 cataclysmic recession looks like. And so if you thought fat, you might end up regular. And if you thought regular, you might end up lean. So I just want a little bit more of a cushion. And how I do that, again, this is kind of the second point, is, how I do that is I make sure that I'm living my wage. And quite frankly, that I'm living under my means. Like I've said for a long time, I want to buy a Lamborghini. Could I buy a Lamborghini? Sure, I could buy a Lamborghini. I could be some jackass that walks into a dealership and goes, yeah, absolutely, let's do this. That's a bad idea. And so what you want to do is, I think Dion's concept of having an asset that you own that pays for that thing that you want, it's absolutely true. We have a couple of buildings that basically pay for our health insurance. We have a couple of buildings that basically, bigger buildings, that pay for our maintenance, our contractors for maintenance. We have another building that takes care of the truck payment, the massive truck payment that we have on some of our service vehicles. And we don't have this big fleet. We have a couple. But those are the things that you need to be thinking about, is the depth, the breadth. What does this really look like? Let's get larger than we thought we needed to. And then try living only on one or the other, only living on your W-2 and not touching what you're investing in your portfolio, or only living on your portfolio and having all that you're making in your W-2 get set aside and not get spent. But prove to yourself for 3 to 6 months that you can really live that, because that's going to be key. because the last thing you want to do is retire and realize you can't really do deals anymore. And a lot of small landlords are going to get stuck with that if they retire too soon. The bank's not going to want to do that business with them. And then everything is going to have to be non-conforming debt. It's going to have to be DSCR debt. That debt's much more expensive and thus makes many of those new projects not really cash flow. That's a different story. But then lastly is the most fun part, which is the why, the how, and the why, the combination of the two kind of in the end. In the beginning of the video, you saw my why. My option was to stay on with a software company, spend the next 3 years building the product line back to the place that it deserves to be, working with a bunch of people that I really enjoyed working with, but putting in probably 80 to 100 hours a week for the next 3 years. And for me, it was knowing that my miracle daughter, Eliana, who was miraculously cured of cancer with the most amazing team, and certainly thoughts and prayers. She turned 3 yesterday. She was told at 5 months that we were told at 5 months because she couldn't really understand that she was not going to live. She had a 8% chance of living 4 more months. And so the fact that we have her and she's 3 and she turned 3 yesterday, it was an amazing celebration. Quite frankly, we didn't really want to share it with anybody else. We just spent our time together as a family, just hanging out around the house, having cupcakes for breakfast. I highly recommend it. The kids enjoyed it, but having that opportunity is you never know how long you have. And so because you never know how long you have, the most important thing you can do is live life to the fullest. And so living life to the fullest to me isn't making sure some big company makes as much money as they possibly can. So the idea that I waited as long as I did to retire, I don't want to say I regret it because I needed to really be mentally and emotionally ready. And I think that you can't get the perspective that you really need until you're actually out of it. But in the last month that I've been retired, I have done more things. I've seen more friends. I've spent more time on my job sites, enjoying that time. I've spent more free time. Holy Toledo. We've got a babysitter who's absolutely amazing. When she comes and watches the kids, she goes, "Hey, how's the day look?" She used to ask me that when I had a job. I said, "I have a meeting at 12:30. I don't have anything else." And she goes, "How nice for you." I was like, it is kind of nice, I guess. So really, those are the things that you really need to focus on is, how do I do this? Well, live your wage, really heavily invest in yourself, have a number of not necessarily in-person mentors, but people that you have access to. Building your network is helping you build your wealth, but invest in your education. And then most importantly, recognize why you're doing all of it. You're doing all of it to spend more time with your kids, more time with your grandkids. You're spending it to play a more active role in their lives. One of the stats that Dion shared was we really get 19 years with our kids. And a majority of that is in their first 5. So thankfully, I've been able to be around for the first 5 years of most of my kids' lives. But now I'm going to get a whole lot more time. I'm going to be the one that absolutely sets the mark on the high side of that number, because you do eventually reach a point where what you have is enough. And if you understand why you did what you did and the means by which you did it, you recognize that, yeah, this morning we got to spend time with my kids. I got to go play on a bubble machine with the kids outside. And it's still cold outside in New England. But you get to do all those things that you otherwise wouldn't have gotten to do. So recognize, refocus that it's not just about the money. It's not just about the success. It's what it affords you on the other side of it. And I can promise you that that's probably the fuel in your tank that you need that will get you the best amount of momentum going through your journey. It's the 10,000 minutes of preparation that reach that one moment of opportunity that you really get to essentially take that big step. It's thousands of hours of training and listening and watching. But it turns into something, but only when we take action. So for those of you out here who aren't taking enough action, it's okay. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to find issues in your deal. But I would encourage you to find something that works pretty well with the numbers and then take the jump and recognize that it's going to hurt. You're going to feel some pain. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get some I told you so's. Most important thing that you can have in this business is thick skin, because you know who criticizes the most? It's not other investors. It's the posers on the sidelines, the one that Dion's in charge of talking to. Thank God. Because I just don't care. If you come to my channel and you troll me, I'm just going to tear you down, because that's what we do here. Welcome to reality. So I hope this is helpful to you guys, but yeah, we're super blessed. We got our miracle with our daughter. That was one of the toughest 11 months of my life. I hope I never have to go through that again. But our time is not our own when we work for others, and make your minutes count, because you never know how many of them you have. So that's what inspires me to do this with you guys on Sunday mornings. This is one of the ways that I want to give back and answer your questions and help you through challenges with your projects and what you're doing, and share with you what I'm doing. So maybe it helps you get better. But this is what's important to me, is giving back and making sure that you guys have the best chance that you can to succeed, because I can't do it for you, but you guys are here listening, asking questions, and trying to learn. And that's how you're going to get great at this. So hopefully that message helps you guys. It was one of those ones where I'm not like a huge fan of preaching, but I wanted to share that with you guys. Hopefully it gives some of you perspective, and we'll go from here. So let's jump into the questions. Let's jump in and let's have some fun. Okay. Dear heavens, you gotta load me up with questions. Rob, good morning. Flavio, good morning. Dion, my buddy, good morning. Brett, good morning. Kip SOS, same. Hyder, same. Hyder's last day in Gary celebration. You only have to avoid the drive-by one more day, Hyder. Just one more day. BuzzTune, good morning. Yoder, good morning. Bye, kiddos. Yep, they decided to. They're upstairs, hijacking my wife for. They call these. My wife calls these the wings. She's like, time for a haircut when you get the wings. They're upstairs enjoying candy right now. Here's what I can tell you: when you're the last kid in your family, to have all the kids, and they have all the sets of grandparents that they do, you don't need to buy your kids anything. Just wait, we're going to nannies. Just wait, we're going to nannies. Just wait, we're going to Grammys. Just wait, we're going to grandpa. Just wait. And then they take care of all that stuff. So it's pretty good. Yeah, candy bribery, exactly. Ryan Allen, hi, sir. Wealth Building Journey, good morning, Chester. Rob, when all else fails, go see mommy for candy. Yeah, well, I was the one who had to take care of the management, the candy management. Anything that with management involved, I have to be the one. So now they've got candy management. We've got everything properly, dosed. And yes, that's the correct term, so they can get what they need. Miss K, good morning. When all else fails, yes. Morning for candy. Yes, read that. Anna K, good morning. Great to be in live when I have a W-2. Yes, that's true. And just so you know, again, don't run out the door on your W-2, but be working a plan. Just the plan. Where do I need to get to in order to live F.I.R.E? Again, F.I.R.E was what I chose. Great seeing family, Eliana. Yep. Oh, you're very welcome, Kip. I appreciate the super chat very much. Thank you. Brett, good morning. Thanks, Kip. Yep. Installing a dryer vent in wall. What all will I need? If you're installing, first of all, don't have it installed and vented into your living space. I feel like I need to say that with Dion. So you want to find an exterior wall first. But you're gonna, in all likelihood, you're gonna need a hole saw. You're going to need the actual vent that you buy from the store. You're going to need flex pipe. Sometimes I do hard pipe, but you're going to need at least the flex pipe. If you buy the flex pipe kit, or you can even buy the entire kit that comes with the outdoor cage as well. But you can actually look that up right on one of the big box stores. The only thing that you'll probably need is that hole saw. You probably don't have that. It would be my guess. But you can rent those. You can rent them right from the tool department. And I think it's a 4-inch if I remember correctly. And then cut that hole saw. Then you're going to get right through the wall. Make sure it has a long enough chuck on it. And you're going to get right through that wall and get to the inside wall. And then you're going to be able to slide that bad boy right into the wall. And then you're going to want to be able to caulk around the outside of it, caulk around the inside of it, so you pass any air passage, and then slip on that hose onto your dryer. Or excuse me, yeah, first put on your dryer, then you'll have to lean over, put it on the dryer vent, and then you slide that thing back and just make sure it's not kinked, and you should be good to go. It will take you slightly longer than it took for me to describe it. Kip, looking forward to Sunday morning. Yep, good to be here. Thanks, Kip. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, sir. G Waters. Good morning, Matt. Good morning to you as well. Mandy, the same. Laura San Diego. Good to have you here. Bonfire. Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah. We want that fire as hot and bright as possible. It gets better and bigger over the years. Your expenses start to subside over the years. Very often, if you've done those capital improvements, that's one of the parts of our strategy is we have a certain percentage of our apartments that we gut and rehab in the beginning, because then I've done the roof, I've done the heating systems, I've done the electrical, I've done the appliances. At that point, I've done that with a construction loan. Everything has been funded and financed. But now I have a building that largely isn't going to have an issue for a decade. The roof is going to be good for 30 years. The appliances will probably be one of the first things to go at 10 or 15 years or needing some level of service. But the electrical is going to be good. The plumbing is going to be good. After people move in, usually the first 30, 60, 90 days, you're going to uncover any issues. You address those issues, repair them properly, and likely that becomes what I call a no-touch asset. We have a number of those properties that are no-touch assets. In fact, our property manager, there's a number of properties. He's worked for us for almost 3 years, 2.5 years. There's some properties he's still never been to. They've never had a problem. Think about that. 2.5 years, no maintenance calls on that property. Now, I'm either going to show up and the place is going to look like it was blown up, or it's in decent shape, because I've actually been there and no issues, nothing reported. We're good. Hyder, well done. That's my dude right there. Rob, Mike could retire now and work full time on his real estate and he would blow up. He just likes being shot at too much. That's probably true. The big thing, as you guys probably know, is insurance. Mike's young. I'm young enough. Insurance is expensive. I'm not a vet, so I don't have my insurance covered for me. So insurance for a family of 6, it's kind of expensive. It's about $3,000 a month out of pocket. So suffice to say, that's not a house. That's a few houses. It's a few buildings that actually pay that expense. And that was an expense I didn't have just 60 days ago. Senya, real estate investing has been a full-time job for me on top of my other full-time job and a part-time job. I understand. I worked about 80 to 100 hours a week for 20 years. From the time I was about, I broke into tech sales when I was about 19. And yeah, I was young. Broke in at 19, worked in a telemarketing department, worked my way up through. But yeah, I worked that job that was where I put all of my energy, 80 hours plus a week. That's where I put all of my energies for, 3-4 years. But that netted me an income and some good money that I could then invest. And after I lost money in the stock market, and even though I lost all of it, it was maybe $30,000 maybe. After I lost all of it, then the next step was, okay, now I got to get into doing the next thing. And that was the real estate investing. But I had money for deposits. I had money for down payments, because that was a time where I wasn't getting the liar loans. I was getting the 20% down triplex loans. So I was to buy a triplex, it was 65, 75,000 bucks with closing costs. So I had that kind of money at 23, 24 years old, but it was because I'd worked 80 to 100 hours a week for 4 years. And then I kept that job and I kept that going. And so I would spend a little bit of time on my real estate and a lot of time, because YouTube really wasn't a thing then, only 22 years ago, really wasn't a thing then. Real estate investors teaching people how to do stuff. And it wasn't something I was really searching for. Didn't really know. I was like, they figured it out. I'll figure it out too. I'll make plenty of mistakes, but I'll figure it out. And that's kind of how it went. Fire Nice, good morning. Richard Gamino, good morning. Robert Farinelli, good morning. Ryan Allen, does the course have examples of your lease violation notice and non-renewal of lease? Yes. Yep. We have the lease violation notice. We've got like 17 or 18 documents in there. So yeah, all of that stuff is in there. We have all of our checklists. We have our move in and move out checklists. We have our how do you're documenting your units. All of that stuff is in there. Yeah. Yep. Wandering Doc. What's up, Matt? How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you, Andre. Robert Finelli, thanks for calling me out on trying to grow fast, but it's hard when your financial freedom goals involve being young and in great shape. You don't get any younger. It's very true. But nothing will take years off your life faster than being stressed out and miserable. And I can tell you, poor sucks. It does. But everyone can do this. Everyone can do this. It just takes hard work, listening, learning, and applying. It's really what it takes. Landlord Odyssey. Hi, guys. Great to see the family. Hey, Matt. Excellent boot camp last night. Thank you very much for ready on. It was awesome. Landlord Odyssey is also ready on. Another investor in New Hampshire. It was. Boot camp was awesome last night. We went like 2.5 hours. We covered everything from balloon framing to on-demand hot water systems, on-demand boilers. We covered, we covered everything. We covered, man alive. We covered so much stuff last night. It was kind of nuts, but good. We covered the decision to, sell a property versus keep a property and how to continue to grow the business. A lot of good times. The Yoder, my favorite Dave Ramsey saying is live like no one else. So later you can live like no one else. It's another great saying. He's masterful at those sayings. And I think for many people, I think that the best that they could ever hope for is living their life on a budget. It's just not me, not the way I want to do it. Sam Farho, good morning. Good morning, sir. I'm regular fire in the US. Here in Southeast Asia, I'm probably obese fire. That's probably not wrong. Challenging thing is, and I think that it's different. I know that you're a traveling radiologist, which I think is awesome. Congratulations on an amazing career selection that gives you the freedom that you do. I think that that changes when you get wives and kids, or husbands and kids, and that changes. And so it's definitely a challenge. But that's okay. I would never trade it. I didn't become a dad until I was 40. And I lived an amazing life for 20 years. I lived an amazing life for 20 years. And now I have just a different amazing life. It's just different, but I still love it. Wouldn't trade it for anything. Senya, got to run to Home Depot for my second renovation project. See you later, folks. Bye, Senya. Enjoy. Good luck. One of the things that you get better at over time, and this isn't an attack on Senya, but she brings something to mind. I used to go into Home Depot for everything that I needed. Huge, colossal waste of time. Now what I do is everything I do, I just order it right from my phone. Make sure you can't see all my numbers on my credit card. I just do it right from my phone. So I have my login. It automatically logs me in on my phone. And yes, I don't care because I have, purchase protection and the cards have limits. So, but jump on there. I throw it all because then at that point, you know what you need. That's part of what my course teaches you is here's how to understand what you need for different projects. When you do that and you can toss it all in the court, guess what? Now it's easy. They send you a text message in an hour or two. Hey, everything's ready. Then I want to do curbside. I'm even lazier. giving Dion a lazy run for his money. You're on notice, Dion. But then it's going to just get dropped off and gets put in the back of my truck. And then I drive it to the site. And what happens? I'd sent the guys a text, hey, I'll be there in 10 minutes. They're outside. They're grabbing their stuff and they're bringing it in. It's kind of pretty awesome. So at that point, I've gotten everything that they needed. I didn't lose them having to go to the job site. I mean, having to go to Home Depot and waste an hour of time. I didn't have to go waste an hour of time. It's boom, it's there, it's done, it's ready. Good. We're good to go. And every once in a while, do you get something wrong? Meaning that you needed more of it or that you got the wrong thing. Yeah, every once in a while that happens. But trust me on this, 97% of the visits go exactly as planned. Wandering Duck. Fat Fire is 5 times living expenses. Lean Fire is 1 time basic expenses, which is not a great position. I agree. Wandering Duck. I love hearing this story from Matt. I'm so glad, Wandering Duck. I'm always happy to share it. All-Nighter Hider. 8%. Wow, that chokes me up. Yep, it was 8%. And the docs said, no disrespect to docs, but they said we can start to prepare comfort measures. I cursed a little bit, only a little bit. And then I said, we're taking a different path. So what we need is the care team, and we need to start talking to them about what the strategy is and how we're going to move forward from here. And so that's what we did. And that was September of 2021. Yep. Makes doing what we do worth it. Yes, sir. Absolutely. And in fact, radiology is a big part of Eliana's life now. Every 90 days, she goes in for a CT scan, a bone scan, and an MRI. She's in there for 3.5 hours under pediatric anesthesia. They take about 5,000, 6,000 pictures. And then they spend the next 2 hours with a team of people going through everything to make sure that everything looks nice and clean. That's how it goes. So that's our every 90 days. Every 45 days, she goes in and she gets palpations on her abdomen, her chest, everything else. And if you ever want courage, watch my daughter going and getting multiple IVs in the same arm and watching them miss. And ow, that hurt. I'm like looking at them with the look of death. Stick it right next time. And she's just braver than brave. She's the most unbelievable little kid. And yeah, she's meant for something absolutely extraordinary. All of our kids are. And it's my job as their dad to not be their buddy, but to make sure that they are optimized for the calling that they have. And I don't know what that is yet, but we'll figure it out. Wealth Building Journey, hit that like button. Thank you very much, Chester. Scott Lawson, congratulations on your retirement. Thank you very much. Excited to be here. Fire Nice, so glad to hear about your daughter. My granddaughter turns 3 next week and couldn't imagine undergoing that ordeal. It was a horrible, awful time in our life and an amazing blessing. I got to spend 104 days alone with my 2 oldest, where my wife was in the hospital with our youngest. And the amount of time that I get to spend with them and input into them, I am definitely in the top 1% as far as dads go that have gotten to spend time with their kids. And trust me, it makes all of this other stuff so much better and so much more worth it. Sam Farho. Oh, Scott Lawson, happy birthday. Thank you, Sam, for her. I appreciate that. Sam Farho, what other issues do you see with auction properties? How did you overcome them? With auction properties, it was really no different. They're still a title company. And so the thing that you usually end up with an auction property is maybe there was a lien that wasn't taken care of that somebody missed, but that's why you have to have title insurance. The most important thing in that regard, 1000%, is title insurance. You have to have title insurance. If you don't, you're at risk because that's when stuff gets missed. So no other real issues other than that. Ryan Allen, what model of IBC combi boiler do you use? I forget what it's called. I was looking at it last night. I want to say it's either 199 or 256,000 BTU combi boiler from IBC. It's absolutely amazing. No issues with that boiler. We've got 33 of a version of that deployed. And I think we've had 2 issues, and both of them we were back up and going within a couple of hours. It's just a part swap. Ned talks. Savings rate is probably the most underrated metric in the beginning and in the end of everyone's journey. If it's your margin of safety in the end, and it's your measure of progress in the beginning. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Ned, for adding that. I think the other thing that you have to think about as well is, making sure that you don't ever have more than 250 grand in an account. Not a problem in the beginning, but certainly a problem in the end. When you have exposure to the market, you can have, like it happened in the GFC, you could have a 30 or 40% reduction in your portfolio. What if you were retiring then? Now your calculation is kind of going to be broken. So that's where I like a level of diversification. We have some diversification. We do have a 401k. I didn't put a ton of money into it, but still not that ton of money has ended up being pretty good, 6 figures. But we have a more aggressive path for how that money is going to be invested, because anything from that path is going to be kind of, more fun money. I do have a wealth manager, not one that like manages it day to day, but I do have one that I meet with once a quarter to just have that conversation. You guys know my EA and my CPA is Bob Langworthy. I meet with him every 12 to 16 weeks, every 3 to 4 months, to talk about the plan for the next year, what we're doing this year, how we make sure that we have the least amount of liability as possible. So it does create and does take time for planning. In the beginning, you say, oh, well, they're not going to really want to talk to me because I don't really have much money. Yeah, but that's kind of when you need to talk to them the most. You need to make sure that you're setting yourself up for a win. And then you just have to decide what's the most comfortable for you. What's the most comfortable way to accomplish that? I did some bad things behaviorally to, build my business, and I don't recommend them. I had to max out credit cards when the great financial crisis hit. I had to, work 80 or 100 hours a week. Excuse me. I had to work 80 or 100 hours a week, to make sure that I could make the nut that I needed to make. I needed to pick sometimes the wrong contractor, because they were willing to do it for less. Things like that, right? So that's where it becomes a challenge. All-nighter header. Sam, encumbered title with extra debt, I think, is common. Yep. Yeah. And that's why you have to have title insurance. That's the most important thing. Right now, and how did you fare in the last storm? We got 14 plus inches in our area. We got about 7. We got about 6 or 7 where we live. We got about 10 to 12 in the areas that we have properties. That's where we ended up. But all cleared, all clean. Let's see. Old REI guy, good morning. Guys, I got your t-shirts. Thank you very much. They are absolutely awesome. Ashley has already worn hers. I haven't worn mine yet, but Ashley has already worn yours. And so, yes, thank you very much. And for the note as well, we really appreciate that. It was awesome. Very cool. Sam Farho, do you think that it's a good idea to start a friendship with an appraiser, and how is that important? I don't think it's necessarily how you want to start a friendship. I think it's just be friendly. Just ask them questions. Try to learn. A lot of people don't understand what I'm going to do doesn't mean anything to an appraiser. An appraiser is there to assess and appraise the value as it sits right then and there while they're on site. Even if you have a $500,000 special piece that adds value to the property, unless it's installed, they can't value that. Even if you have a brand new boiler there, they can't value that. It has to be actually fully installed. So it's one of those things that you should look at. All-night header. LOL. Ned, got to give credit to Wandering Doc. I too want obese fire now. Yeah, that's the way to go too. Crystal Allen, praise the Lord. I agree. Yes. Amen. Senya, praise the Lord. I agree. Yeah, we were blessed. Old REI guy, we jump in again. So glad we found you and the other Avengers. It's been a wild ride. I love it. Old REI guy, you guys got to watch his channel, or Old Guy REI. Sorry. Old Guy REI, you got to check out Frank's channel. It's on YouTube. Check it out. He's a contractor. I know we hate most contractors, but he's actually one of the good ones. But he's sharing his journey. He got into it. The market forced him out of it. And then he got back into it again. And now he's crushing. Guys, this is what we do. This is why Zoob encourages all of you to share your story, because you have no idea one little piece of wisdom that you might have found out that other people haven't run into yet. And it might be based on your circumstances. It's important that we share our journeys, make it easier for others to get to the mountain. My hope for my guys, the guys that work for me, I answer their questions all the time. I want them standing on my shoulders, not having to go through. There's not something in me where it's like, you're just going to have to figure it out on your own. That's stupid. I want to help them. No one helped me. So I like to help them. I like to answer questions. I like to have them get perspective. That's where that's where I make great people that work with me, not necessarily for me, but great. I just heard one of the kids let out a primal scream upstairs, but there's no crying after it. So it's a good thing. But yeah, I want them to be able to, achieve success and enjoy the journey as well. They're certainly a part of mine. Robert Farinelli, speaking of tearing clowns down, when are you going to be offended again? Probably soon. The project we're doing a project. I'm offended right now. I'm mastering my offense. I told the story last night in boot camp, but basically I pay 50% upon rough and 50% upon completion with contractors. I put myself in a bad position because it was discussed, but it was not put in the paperwork. So I then just got invoiced for 80%, even though I bought all the materials. And he's like, well, 80% of the work is done. And I said, yeah, but it's not. I was like, because there's no way I'm going to find anybody to go out there and do the 20% of work that you think is left for 20% the price. That's not going to happen. He's like, well, I'd be screwed too. If you disappeared, I wouldn't get paid for anything. I said, well, that's where you're wrong. Because at that point I was pissed. I was like, well, that's where you're wrong, because that email goes to both myself and my wife. We both see the invoices, and all you have to do is send over a signed off rough permit and we'll pay you. She would pay you. I would pay you. Anybody would pay you. The whole reason we made you wait the week is because you said it was done, but you hadn't scheduled the inspection like it's your responsibility, and you didn't get the rough approved. As soon as the rough is approved, you get paid. So then he sent me over the invoice and he's like, yeah, I want 80%. And I was like, that's ridiculous. He's like, well, that's based on the work being done. I was like, I provided all the materials. 80% is not done. And so he went after me and said, well, I wouldn't get paid if something happened to you, in which he's wrong, because he's just a noob and doesn't know how to run his business. And I wrote back, I said, and after I corrected him, I said, the challenging thing is I would be far more stuck than you, because I have a process for if something happens to me in going through these steps. I have a process. Sadly, I looked your wife up and she's not an electrician, so I'd be screwed. And so my option is basically starting over and taking a 1 month delay that I don't want to take, or just finishing up with this pinhead and never hiring him again. Now, at the end of the day, he moved the goalposts. It was his fault. But in the interest of the job, I didn't get behind. I didn't get too far. I didn't get ahead of him. But if he decides to leave, yeah, it's going to be a squeeze on me. However, I want to keep the job going because that cost is maybe another, I don't know, $1,000 a unit, maybe. So it's times 2 units. So it's a couple grand. So maybe I'm a couple grand at risk. I'm not 10 grand at risk, but on the size of the project, it's about a $250,000 project. So at the end of the day, yeah, I'm offended. And quite frankly, that's my fault. I should have told him, if I didn't have such a tight timeline, I'd probably told him to F off. Because we had talked about it a number of times. We agreed on 50%. Then he hits me with 80. And then I was like, I'm not paying the 80. He goes, I'm not showing up again. And I've got the permit on the place. And so don't like that power dynamic at all, obviously. And so I kind of wanted to fire him just on the spot, but he's so close to being done that it makes far more sense for me to just, can his stupid slobbering ass after this. Because quite frankly, he did it wrong. And now anybody that asks me about anybody, I'm going to make sure to just give them my exact experience and show them the text messages of the document and back it up. And, he'll be busy for as long as the economy is good. And then as soon as the economy isn't good, he won't be busy. But he will have earned it. I digress. So yes, I am kind of offended, but I'll be far more offended soon, I'm sure. All-nighter Hider, packing it up tonight and hitting the road in the morning. Good for you, Hider. Financial firefighter. Where you guys are? Oh, there he is. I'm sorry, I missed it. What's up, Mark? Good morning. Sorry, I missed that. Seller properties. I have a steel bathtub with multiple chips. Going to sell the property when tenants move out in June. Would you repair? Yeah, I probably would. I'd get quotes on it at least. Yeah, I'd get quotes. If it were $2,000, I probably wouldn't repair it. I probably wouldn't repair it. If it's $700 or $800, yeah, I'd probably repair it. So it depends on what you get quoted. Don Church, good morning, sir. Good morning, Matt. Any concerns on a DSCR loan? We are looking at a 4-unit that has good potential for cash flow. So the only thing that I would consider is it's going to be a much higher rate. I would have it all quoted out. I would know what all your expenses are. You're probably going to pay a couple points in closing. There's a lot of moving parts there. So I have no concerns with the loan in and of itself. All that I have concerns with is the cost to get the loan. And then you need to make sure that you've gotten it quoted. So you know that rates are 10% or 10.5%. You need to know that up front because that likely is going to be what hurts your cash flow the most. But just going into it, knowing those things, you're fine. But make sure you have it quoted out. Make sure you understand the points. Make sure you understand the closing costs, because most of those vendors, when they close, they get their fee from that upfront points fee. Because when they sell it on the back end, right? When they sell that asset, when they sell that debt on the back end, they're selling that to an insurance company who's going to, who's basically buying it for a portion of the rate. And then they're getting paid for servicing the debt. Or in some cases, they sell the servicing of it too. So no concern with the DSCR. Just make sure you've gotten it quoted, see the rate, see the closing, see all of that stuff. Yep. Rumble Seat Riders. Good morning and congrats on the 3rd birthday blessing. Thank you very much. We are immensely blessed. Hider, exterior wall. Yeah, I wasn't joking. I've seen that done other ways. Sam Faro, how do you find those landlords who are tired and eager to sell? One of the ways is that we're able to look up and see a property, but we're also able to see how long somebody's owned that property, right? Once you look at the deed, you can see how long that they've owned the property. So we look up somebody that might own a number of properties, and then we can take a look up in the registry of deeds. There's nothing fast about it. You can see that they've owned them for 30 years or 20 years or whatever. They could be super tired of it, but it's also being in a landlord group. Sometimes you start to hear, like, there's this one guy. I always tell him I'm his retirement plan. I said, you just let me know when you're ready. When you don't want to manage stuff anymore and you just want to play in a band, you just let me know. I'll buy your whole portfolio. And that's what I'll do. BuzzTune, for documentation, how many backups do you have? I.e. door loop, Google Drive, Dropbox. Is 2 to 3 backups enough? Yeah, absolutely. So from a documentation perspective, yes, you can do a couple of things. You can, if you have like a Microsoft 360, you get access to OneDrive as an example. So if you have Microsoft 360 on your PC, you get access to OneDrive. I also have access. I pay for the yearly subscription on Google, for storage there as well. Because then I can have an email box essentially where I put stuff. And so videos are there, lists are there, also a file drive on my own computer right there that's accessible to me. If you do that, you're definitely okay. Door loop, we store a decent amount of stuff in door loop. But yeah, we have OneDrive, Google, and what we have in door loop. Yeah, that's more than enough. We don't want to get too crazy. Rob Hyder, you ever break out your GoPro? He did. He has a channel. Check out his videos. I don't know how he recorded them. That might have been just his phone, but maybe. Dylan McMahon, what's up, gentlemen? What's up, Dylan? Good morning. Sam Faro, how to find landlords that own free and clear? Is there something providing that list, or can ask some wholesalers to do and pay them a referral fee? No, you need to do that stuff on your own. The best way to do it is you get something like a prop stream or something like that. And you just you can make a selection, I believe, in their list, owners with no mortgage or no recorded mortgage. You can look for that. But yeah, I would just buy, that's a list, Sam, that I would buy from a prop stream or a batch leads or something like that. we'll do to the boring video coming up. Looking forward to it. Dylan McMahon, do you think 2 to 4plex have less turnover than big complexes? They absolutely do. Yep, they absolutely do, without a shadow of a doubt. That's why I've been calling it for now 2 years. The best investment to make is on a 2, 3, or 4 unit, because it's a asset that's easily sold. It has less turnover. The only thing that has less turnover than a 2 to 4 is a single family, but the profit margin isn't there in a single family in most markets. Not in all, but in most. My profit margin on a duplex is going to be far larger than, not only is it going to be a bigger number, but it's going to be far larger in most cases. So I still believe 2s, 3s, and 4s, 2s especially, because they can be condominiumized over the course of time. You can buy them with the same debt as you can a normal mortgage. Thankfully, 3s and 4s have been added to that with a 5% down program through conventional. When that didn't exist, duplexes by far were the best. Now they've kind of all equalized more because you can get that 5% down across the board on that stuff. What is an escrow holdback? So escrow are things that essentially is a payment that gets made. And so it gets taken out monthly out of, or they bill you for it monthly with your bank, but then they make like a property tax disbursement twice a year usually. They would make an insurance disbursement usually once a year. Those are usually things that you can escrow. Other things usually occur too often. Looks like a water bill once a quarter or a once a month water bill. Those things happen too often. And make it untenable for that to be an escrow. So usually it's insurance, it's taxes and insurance, property taxes and insurance is usually what it is. Dylan, you trust brokers to write PSA or always get an attorney? Purchase and sales agreement? Yeah, yes, always. Yep, I don't need an attorney to bill me time for reading a PNS. So yeah, we call them PNSs, purchase and sales. And so, yeah, the only time that we have an attorney involved is if we're using our private mortgage document. And we have a private mortgage document, and then we bring them in to make sure that nothing there, to make sure that they've changed the terms, because then they're on the hook to make sure that there was an issue. Then it's something that, can fall on their shoulders instead of just mine. Wealth building journey. I thought it was live like no one wants to now, so you can live like no one can later. Something like that. Yeah. Dylan, is substitution of capital as simple as substituting something worth a simple amount to replace collateral? Yep. It basically is. Or it can also be used in a term of, if you're looking at your investors as substituting the capital, it can be investor A, I'm substituting them with investor B, because I don't like investor A anymore, as an example. There's some stupid concepts out there like, well, after you've gotten the debt approved by the person, then just use that debt in other places. Okay, show me how many times you've done that. 3 times, 5 times. There's better, cleaner ways to do deals. I'm not a fan particularly of that strategy. I don't think it really adds a whole lot of value. And in most cases, you're having to slip stuff into the contract that person doesn't understand. And then when you go to do it, then you have a fight. And then you're just like, hey, it's in the contract, way it goes. I don't believe in slipping things into contracts. I actually have a lease where I can literally legitimize every single step there. So when I take somebody through it, it's easily legitimized. That's the value. That's the value. Jump to the super chat. Oh, here we go. Dylan will be back. Don't worry. Oh my goodness. I'm so far behind. Sammy Farho, super sticker. Thank you very much, Sam. I appreciate that. Master Coach University. Should I still use the binder strategy if the comps aren't much higher than current rent? Let's say within $100 a market. Should we just make small increase or just leave the rent the same instead? Great question. What I would tell you is it's always nice to see it justified. I'm sure that you can find some comps that break that mold that might be 150 or $200 more. But for any people, if they're that good of a tenant, they're going to want a justification of why it's being raised. So for me, I look at really having to walk that line of having a great tenant. If they're a great tenant that never bothers me, it's something where I might go for that increase, but I would want something that's probably a little bit more substantial. It really depends on the percentage of rent. If everything is showing 150 to 200 bucks more, well, then at 75 bucks, I'm probably pretty good. And just say, hey, listen, would love to have you stay. It's a convenience for you. It's a convenience for me. What do you think is fair? And if they come back and say, I don't want to pay any more, then you can make the decision at that point to say, okay, I understand. I'm going to give you notice as an example, right? So that's what I would tell you is I think the other thing that you can do too is you can wait the year. I don't necessarily like waiting the year if they're up like 10%, right? But because let's say that $100 is the difference between 1,000 and 1,100, but if you're talking about like a $3,000 unit that's up $100, I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to bother probably. In all honesty, that's me though. Let's see. Oh my goodness. So far behind. I feel like I'm never going to catch up. Well, I only have 25 minutes anyway. Placement collateral. BF. Hey, BF. I have cash on hand, need to buy more rental properties, but I can't find anything in Vegas or Florida. Yep, to buy that will turn parts of ROI, just earning 5% plus interest in the meantime. I hate having $4. Exactly. You're exactly right, though. You're exactly right. We realized, and I don't want it to act like I crystal balled this, but I kind of sort of did. I believe that debt was so unbelievably infinitesimally inexpensive, right? At 375 and 4 that I bought everything I could get a deposit together for. I bought it all. I bought every freaking thing I could. I did like 23 deals in like 19 months or 20 months because the debt was so stinking cheap. I bought everything. And that was why I wasn't in this big rush to quickly throw anybody out. It needed to cash flow, but it also needed to have value add opportunity. So we've now spent the last 2 years going through those units and doing value add. Thankfully, the jail project and the other South project that we have, those 2 projects, when those complete in June and August, when those complete, we have one other project of significant size behind it and not really anything else. And so we're going to have to evaluate then, but we really are almost okay just kind of taking a break because it's been a whirlwind of a 4-year period with family and personal stuff and everything else. It's really kind of been a whirlwind. And so, so from that perspective, yeah, I think I don't think you're wrong. I think it's high yield savings account, something that is safe, but that you can get access to. I'm not doing, junk bonds. I'm not doing munis. I'm doing a high yield savings account that I know I can get access to and no more than $250 in a given account. Unless I found a bank in Massachusetts that does the concept of diff, which basically covers you regardless of your balance. Senya, it's all new to me still. I love Home Depot experience. I totally agree. You will get to a point where I loved being in the Home Depot once this week. If I had to go 4 or 5 times, no, thank you. But it's also time. Your time is very valuable. And so that's what will change for you over the time that you're doing this. Dylan McMahon, is cash advance paying something beforehand? Can you give examples of that being helpful in real estate besides high interest rates? In cash advance paying? There's nothing that I do that's cash advance that I can think of. How do you do background checks for free? You don't. They cost. You have to use a service and go through that process. Any other way is extremely time consuming, but usually you have to pay for that access to get the information that you need. JNYC, good morning, everybody. Good morning. When you do utility bill back, do you put it in their name? How does that work? Nope. You have the utility in your name and you bill them back. That's how it works. Cap gains percentage based on tax bracket? Nope. It's 15 or 20%. Can you request a specific phlebotomist? A good one? Yeah, right. What's really cool is, sadly, when I was in the hospital right before the ORAT thing, I was in the ICU. Swear to you, kid you not. I don't know if you guys knew that. I was in the ICU 3 days before I flew out. What's really cool is the ICU gets phlebotomists. It was awesome. They didn't miss once. They were freaking awesome. So I love phlebotomists. Love me some phlebotomists. Ellie Strong. Yes, she is. Thanks, Chester. KLRB. Good morning, Matt. Good morning, KLRB. Cassidy, one of my, oh, sorry, Dylan. Right now, I just got a credit card that said it'll take me a year or two to get to 750. Should I try and wait then to refi before I do it? Would I need a cosigner? You just need to ask the banks. Ask the banks what their credit requirements are for the best rate. So it's all about asking the banks and who you're working with and what they're going to give you for a return. Cassidy, one of my metrics for if something is a good decision is that if I suddenly die, will my family be in a position to financially pull through without me there? That's a great criteria. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's our responsibility, for our families to look through it. Now, Ashley would have a lot of paperwork on her hands, but that's where I've brought her through the business, where she understands where everything is. So if by chance something were to happen to me, she would know the 3 people that she needs to go to start getting things in order or to kind of start progressing through things. And then for her, I would like to see her keep some of the buildings, but she can absolutely 100%, she could downsize 100%. And that would create enough wealth for her to keep the house, keep the kids in school, in their private school. Yeah, I send my kids to private school because I'm not paying for college. I want my kids to have every advantage in the world when it comes to education. So for their primary education, I'm willing to invest a lot of money. For college, I'm willing to invest this much. Nada. But for their primary education, I will invest till the cows come home, so long as they're making that effort. And they are high functioning children, as you saw, but they are aggressively managed. We'll call that aggressively managed when it comes to academics, when it comes to much else too. Dylan McMahon, if I use all my income from a property on rehabs, would I have to pay income tax? Nope. No, because you're offsetting it with expenses. But that would be a CPA question, making sure you're structuring it properly. How do you go about figuring out replacement cost? How much does it cost a replacement? You'd have to understand, you'd have to get it quoted because the cost to replace it plus the materials, but that's only good for so long. Cassidy stops me from buying things we can't afford and keeps me investing in cash flowing assets. I agree. It's important to have a little bit of fun though. Dylan, where do you post your duplexes to lease? How can I find market rents? You actually look in the market. So you look where you're posting them. I post them on Facebook Marketplace. I also post them. It's usually your top 3 areas, which might be Facebook Marketplace. For us, it's Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and Zillow. We post there. That's where I go capture my research to then understand what I should be charging when I bring them a unit to rent. Dylan, do you have a book where you just list off questions from the book? Best advice to find economic occupancy, hard to find unit amount. I have no idea what economic occupancy is. Not a term that experts use. I'm an expert. I don't use that term, so I don't know what it is. How much does it cost to post listings in a market? Facebook Marketplace is free. Craigslist is usually free. And Zillow, it depends. Will Housing Authority pay bad debt off? No. Sam Farho, if you file for sole proprietor to get it in at the state, can you be searched and found? I think that there's new reporting laws around LLCs, so you'd have to see that new rule because I don't know that stuff because I don't have an LLC structured that way. I have a trust, not an LLC. The LLC that I have is actually for the business, but it's so we could own the truck in the business because I wasn't going to be the driver of the truck. Loss of lease is the amount of rent you're not getting from it being below market rent. Yes. Well, depends on how that loss of lease term is being used. You can lose your lease by not paying, and then it basically you get evicted. So it depends on who's using it. Landlord Odyssey, how does your snow plowing work? Do you have one that has a route doing all of your properties or multiple? Yes. I have one that does my entire route, but I make sure that he has 2 trucks. So the reason for that is if one truck breaks down, I don't need to hear my truck broke down, I couldn't finish. Don't care. I need to make sure that they get done. But we're looking at a new strategy for this year where I think we've gotten big enough where we're probably going to buy a couple plow trucks ourselves based on how big it was. Yeah. Do you use IRR? I don't. High blood pressure fire. Nice. What's the purpose of land assemblage? You've asked me that before. I don't know. I don't know land assemblage. Not a land guy. I have some land. I bought some land, but I don't know what the concept or terms are for land assemblage. Robert Farinelli. So Matt is the only person who is not lazy because according to a random YouTuber, if you are a single male and not working at least 80 hours a week, you're effing lazy. Yeah. Who said that? I think that was the same person that said he wouldn't be able to go home and look his wife and the kids in the face if he made less than 450 grand. It's a little much. Because the guy that washes his car that makes sure it's nice and pretty and clean doesn't make 450 grand a year. So who do you have? Like, no one jumps out and starts out in life saying, I want to be a ditch digger, but they end up there because they make a bunch of decisions that put them there. Right. And the skills and the aptitude, etc. If you're going to be a ditch digger, be the best. Understand how to best do it, how to do it the fastest. Understand all those things. You become an entrepreneur, and then you become wealthy. But no one likes to do median jobs. So what makes them median jobs? Let's see. Primal Scream. Yeah, it's a true story. Look up. Hired a building inspector for a duplex by. Okay. No mention of support concern under structure. Okay. Hired structural engineer to determine why the kitchen floor was sinking. Inspector missed major concern. Now what? Oh, dear God. I don't know how your state handles those. Look up. A lot of times inspectors, this is why I hate inspectors. This is why I hate them, because they have no qualifications other than I took a course and I passed the course for a week. That's why I can do a better job, because I know of my building. But what to do in your particular scenario, I would have the structural engineer furnish some type of a report, and then I would go back to that company and have that conversation with them and say, you guys missed something major. And then they'll try and say this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Well, it got us out of this. It got us out of that. It got us out of this. I think in all likelihood, suing them to make them liable for that issue, you'd be pretty hard pressed. I would have a conversation with an attorney, but the attorney's going to ask for the document that you got when you hired them for inspection, and it likely has 9,000 disclaimers in it. But I would probably have a conversation with an attorney, have them look at it, based on how severe, how bad it was. And then get that, and then based on what the attorney says, if they say, yeah, absolutely, we can sue them. Then I would look at that and have them probably draft a letter and send it to the company and say, these are the findings, and we will be filing suit against you. Or you can maybe hit them back and say, hey, depending on what the attorney says, hey, at the very least, I want my funds, refunded for the inspection. And then if they refuse to do that, then I report them to the Better Business Bureau. In all likelihood, I would report them to the Better Business Bureau. And then I'm sure they have Yelp or something like that. And then I would leave my story there. That's what I would probably do. Mechanics liens, make sure they get paid. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So when you're closing though, that's what the title insurance is meant for, that, right? It's mechanics liens, it's debt put against the property, it's anything owed or liened on the property has to be cleared up before they can transfer clean title. And Craig, missed you last night in class. Oh my goodness, I have 11 minutes left. Holy Toledo. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, good. All right, I'm rolling. All right, here we go. Are you a native NH resident? Yes. Accent not there, because I flew all over the country for 10 or 11 years. So no accent. No accent. Cold calling. I've been going good since last live. A guy I got to contact that has 2,500 units, and he's ready to teach someone everything he knows because he was taught from my mentor as well. As I promised, do the same thing. Once I get to that point, I can teach others. Pretty excited for the future. That's awesome. Make those phone calls, get in front of those guys. Do me a favor. Don't burn them out with questions. Just as nicely as I can say it, shut up, listen, and learn. Just shut up, listen, and learn. Ask when spoken to, try to anticipate what he needs and get it for him. Become an invaluable resource to him, and that will help you in your future. Look up. I should state I bought a duplex based on a building inspection. Yeah, golly. I'm sorry. Sorry, look up. Yeah, I get it. I get it. My plan and path still go the same way. Yep. I would also try and understand what it's going to cost to fix it as well, because usually the remedy there is the finding of damages. Sam Farho, what would it cost you for a full electrical and full plumbing for a 4-bed, 2-bath house, 1,400 square feet in your market? How to break it down? It is, I don't know, because I haven't done a single family house in a long time. So anything that I'm doing is multifamily. It's impossible to say, different market. But in my market, if I ballparked it, so in this 5-unit that I'm doing, we're basically $4,000 in labor for rough and finish. It's about $2,000 to $3,000 in materials for the electrical for each one. Plumbing, I usually count for about $1,500 a fixture. So if you're looking at toilet, $1,500, vanity, $1,500, tub, $1,500, kitchen, $1,500, dishwasher, $1,500, washer, $1,500. That's probably going to be pretty close to your number. So you're probably about $9,000 in plumbing when you do all those, and you figure supplies and drains and all of that stuff. And then it just increases from there a little bit based on what fixtures you pick. So that's what I would say probably in my market. So for a unit, and then, like I said, new panel and such, that doesn't include if you need to do a new mast or a new meter socket or anything like that. Sam Farho, how are you going to buy the retired landlord portfolio? Owner financing combination. We'll see. Owner financing would be the best bet for me, but it could be a mix. We'll see when the time comes. Sam Farho, we are blessed now to be expecting another baby in July. Sam, congratulations. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's great news. Congrats. That's good. New videos with Ned Talks and BuzzTune coming out on my channel. Landlord Odyssey, doing the right thing. Love it. Go check out Landlord Odyssey. I have no problem with you guys promoting that stuff like there that you do on your channels. I hope you put it in there. This is a community. We all want to share that. So I'm even going to do this. So what's really important is, as real estate investors, it's important we share our journeys. We never know how it's going to impact somebody else. So the most important thing is that we can be open and honest about our journey, share it with others, and hopefully someone will get some benefit of it, because I'm sure that people are getting benefit of it and they probably still aren't even telling you that. The more you know. Ding. What do you mean a duplex can be condominiumized? You can turn a duplex into 2 condominiums. My baby is 10 months old and starting to walk. Oh, dear heavens. Time for the second? Oh, that's up to your wife. That's a team decision. Scott Lawson, the strategy that works best in my market is to buy a single family home and add an ADU or possibly 2 ADUs. This can be amazingly lucrative. That's absolutely true. I love that strategy, Scott. Our state just approved that whole ADU concept to the degree of which we can do multiples on a single family property. Now we're looking at that. The challenge is, and I think I think 2 of the 3 properties that I have that are single families, I can do ADUs on. So now the strategy might shift. I might actually not sell one of them. The other one I'm probably going to sell because I think it's going to be some steps. But the other one, I think I can actually do 2 ADUs and completely change. I think it could be unbelievably awesome. So yeah. Look up. Listening to Matt speak. He is listening to Matt speak. He is the salt of the earth. What a fabulous person you are, Matt. Look up. I mean, I really appreciate that. Thank you. We try and give back. We try and do what we can to help others. But that's why I love this community. Honestly, we have 66 people watching. I see other live streams where they're like sports cards. I like sports cards where they have like 500 people watching. No one's adding salt of the earth comments. No one's, doing that stuff. So I appreciate the community that I get to be a part of. And my only expectation of you is that it helps you, that you ask questions. There's my 5-minute warning. That you ask questions, that we can try and help you with stuff. And that you pay it forward. You pay it forward when somebody else needs help and you know that you can help them, pay it forward. But thank you. Look up. That's very nice of you to say. Scott Lawson, Landlord Odyssey. If you have another child now, they will be able to grow up together as peers, friends. If you wait, then they won't play together as easily. My sister was 7 years. Yeah, 7 years apart. 7 years younger, no fun. Yeah, so that's why we stacked them. Ready on? Not that you need to hear it, but that's why we stacked them. 6, 4, 2, now 3, and 5 months. Our kids are stacked, so they always have playmates. Now it might become a problem when they get older and revolt, but for right now, they have playmates. Let me see here. Ooh, I just hit snooze. Whoops. Well, we'll see what happens there. Landlord Odyssey. Thanks, Scott. Yep. I will work on a second baby. Exactly. We work on it. We work on it. Also, my latest deal, I'll be adding an ADU as well, putting it all on the channel. Love that. Yeah, with that new legislation that was just passed, Ready On, it's going to be a whole lot easier for sure. But check it out. It was just passed House and Senate, state of New Hampshire. Look it up. It's great language. BuzzTune. Yes. Need more Ready On Ned Talks conversations on LO's channel. Yes. Yes. Landlord Odyssey. Senya, look up at the Home Depot hack with the last numbers on prices and which ones are on clearance and about to be marked down even more. Yes, I crushed it with that strategy. I just bought $600 per window windows for $100 a piece, and we already have a home for a bunch of them. So we're pretty excited about that. Brian Prelgo, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you, Brian. Just got done looking at the progress on my first burr, looking to tell contractor I'm not happy with the work and will need find another one halfway through. Advice. Have your conversation, know who your other contractor is going to be before you fire the one you got. I would do that. I would walk them through the property, the stuff that you're unhappy with. I would be walking them through and just saying, and not telling them who the contractor is. It's not meant to destroy the other contractor. What it really is, okay, how would you have done this differently? And hear their feedback. And when all of that stuff starts aligning with how you'd want it done, then you've found the good guy if the rate is attainable. All questions I think of, I write down. So basically a book. There you go. Now I figured it out. But yeah, find out that land assemblage one and put it in the chat next time, because I don't know the answer to the land assemblage one. All the other ones I do. Corby Cutter, late to the party, have to bounce. Hello, Misfits. What's up, Corby? Good to see you, pal. Corby is serving our country, and I love vets. You guys know that about me. I got a super soft spot for them, and so Corby's a vet. Appreciate him. He's actually not a vet; he's active. But I appreciate him very much. I appreciate all you guys very much. And that's why some of our projects where we decide to give back to the community, we always give back to the community, but where we decide to give back is to vets, to enlisted families. Those are two big areas that we decided to give back. And having been raised by a single mom, that's another area that we decided to give back. Let's see. All-nighter header. I don't think any certification required by the state to be an inspector. It's not a state inspection, or it's not a state. It's just a general inspector's license in many cases. Yeah, referrals. Absolutely. I like any of the inspectors that I've ever used. I wanted them to have 10 years of construction. Yep. because I wanted them to understand framing. I wanted them to understand systems. I wanted them to understand all of that stuff. That was what was really important to me. Okay, I got to go. I'm going to be late for my students. So guys, I'm sorry if I didn't get to your question. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day. As I always say, we try and create great content. If you guys feel like this video helped you at all, please make sure to pass it on to friends. We really want to make it as big of an impact as we can. And let's face it, YouTube isn't going to benefit me at all from a retirement perspective, but we want to make sure to share that. So I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day. I'm going to jump and be with my students, and hope you have a fantastic one and a great rest of your weekend. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.